Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a stealth dash cam all the way up into here just by using power off of the clock on your 1999 Subaru Forester. So here's the tools you're going to need. A knife, wire strippers, SD card, your backup camera, your dash cam, trim removal tool, Posi taps, or your preferred method of splicing wires. I like these because there's no soldering involved and there's no heat wrap needed. And of course our 12 volt to 5 volt converter with the USB female end here. The first thing we want to do is to get this piece off with the trim removal tool. And from that, it's a little easier with two hands, but they come off pretty easy. You just want to go into where these notches are. You'll see there's a couple of them up top. You can just stick up, and that is all it took to get that out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the clock by just holding on to this clip here and pushing that in and taking that on out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our car to the on position on the key without actually turning the car on, because there's no need to at this point. And we're going to try to find out where in here gives us the best spot for 12 volts. And to do that, we're going to take our multimeter here. We're going to go ahead and set it to 20 volts DC, which is the solid line with the 3 dots underneath it. And we're going to look, typically a darker colored or a black wire will almost always be ground on most vehicles. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our black probe here, the negative, we're going to pop it into this pin here, which is the darker colored wire, and then we're going to probe around until we find 12 volts, and we did right away on this blue wire here, and we'll see if there's any others. And there's one over here on the yellow wire, which seems to be 12.02, a little less. So we'll just get in closer here. We're going to be tapping into this blue wire here and the black wire. The blue wire will be for the power, the black wire will be for the ground. Future editing Mike here. I just want to let you know something that I did. So I did end up going with this yellow wire here as the main power source, because that's what switches on when you turn the car on, thus turning the dash cam on. The other way would be having this blue wire here, which would be always on, and that is not ideal for most dash cameras. Before we set the Posi tap on here, what I'm going to do is scrape back a little bit of this blue wire closer to around here. That way, when I put the clock back in here, it's not going to be uptight here and maybe pinch or break off or something. I want a lot of extra room. So I'm going to be gently kind of scraping back some of the insulation with this knife right over where I'm going to be installing the Posi tap on this. And if you do it with the battery on like I'm doing, just be careful not to poke the black wire, or more importantly, don't poke yourself. So we're just going to scrape, cut away from yourself. It's always a good idea. Just going to scrape a little bit of the insulation off here. Not going to go crazy. Don't want to cut any of the wire itself, the copper here. All right, so I've got a good bit there. I'll bring the camera closer in just a sec. Got a good bit of the insulation taken away there. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. I know it's coming out a little blurry. These GoPros are kind of hard to focus up close, but just about that much that we're going to take away before we install that Posi tap. And of course, before we install that, we're going to do the same to the negative, being again careful that we don't actually cross streams here and end the world by touching these two, and then you got to replace your fuse. That's never a good time. All right, so now what we do with these Posi taps here, and the reason I like these is because these are really secure and they don't require any soldering or heat shrink or anything like that. So what happens here is you find your wire here. These are a little too large actually. You find the wire that you're going to put the Posi tap on that you're tapping into, and you come up underneath it, and then you poke this through where you've peeled back the insulation. Pretty cool stuff. So we're gonna go up underneath here, and then we're just gonna screw this on, making sure that our point here is gonna go through this wire. It's a little hard to do, especially when you ordered a size a little too large. Okay, and to test that it's working, I'm just gonna take the multimeter. Apologize for the wind noise. I don't have a windsock on the GoPro right now. So we're gonna go here and go to the Posi tap, and we got voltage. I think it's bouncing around because it's a little I don't have the best hold on here. There we go. All right, 12.5 volts is what we're getting when I'm not moving around on it, so that's good. We're just going to go ahead and do the same with the positive wire, but first I'm going to crank this down a little bit. Crank my hog. Now, it's also a good idea to verify at this end too, in case you broke that wire, which is unlikely to happen, but not entirely impossible. And doing the same thing, trying to jam this right into where that insulation has been peeled back. All right, so now we're just going to take our wire strippers, and these I believe are 18 gauge. So we're gonna just about there. You don't need a whole lot. Just strip enough off. About there's where I go. Sweet, that comes off. And you're left with about this much length, which is kind of ideal. So now we're going to take our screw part for the Posi tap that we took off earlier to test, and we're going to slip it over like here, over the wire that we're going to go with. We're going to do the positive first, and then just kind of sneak this into here. And the pressure from the screw will keep this wire down and in there. It's not coming out, and it will make a solid connection. All right, once that's cranked all the way down, that's pretty tight. And look, it can even hold it. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same with the negative. And just keep screwing it in. I prefer to get a close-up, but I don't have a camera person here at Foul News. It would be nice to have one. Okay, so now these are both nice and tight, and we've got our 5 volts coming out of here at a maximum of 3 amps. And this particular camera, I believe, only consumes 1.5 amps. Let's check it out. All right, so let's pop open this camera and see what it comes with. Nice little thank you note. Well, you're certainly welcome. Some styrofoam. Camera itself. Pull this thing out here. Got a power button, a couple other little options, little buttons there. Z edge, and this takes 5 volts DC at 1 amp. So that power supply here, this converter, should be more than enough to be able to handle that. And before we tuck everything away, we're going to test that. So underneath here, ooh, wow, they give you a free trim removal tool. I like this already. So what we're going to do is we're going to test this out. Just going to use a shorter cable here, hence the stealthness. And we're going to plug this into the camera, into the converter. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the camera and we're going to plug it into this converter here, and from this converter into here, and now we should get power. And we've got 2 lights, and there we go, and it boots up. It's all connected right there. Hey, I can see myself, and I can see that. I actually cheated a little bit, and I set this up beforehand, so just to make sure that this camera would work before I started this whole video. And yeah, it works. Check it out. So now what we're going to do next, I would go ahead and do your settings on yours. It takes like 10 seconds. Just follow the prompts, set up what you want to set up on yours as well. But let's find a good place to mount this. I think a solid place to mount it is going to be probably right about here. This way I can see myself here. I've got a pretty good view of the back without being too crowded up by this mirror. Ideally, I kind of wanted it up here, but then I realized you can't really see anything in the back, just kind of my face, but I would like to get a view out of the back window, and down here seems to be the sweet spot for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out where we want to put it, and we're going to slide this little guy into here, the suction cup deal. All right, until that clicks in, and then we're going to move it over to the unlock part there. And if you have stuff on yours, you'll have a protective film on yours if you get this one. If not, other one might, whatever other ones you get. And then we're going to kind of figure out from where this camera looks to see where the best spot is. I think even a little lower still. Yeah, right about there seems to be the sweet spot. Okay, cool. So we're going to make sure that this is as level as we can get it before we tighten the suction cup up. It seems to be good just about there. Perfect. Okay. And then we're going to turn this crank there, and look at that. We now have a nice dash cam, but we don't want all this spaghetti. So what we're going to do is we're going to unplug this guy right here, and we're going to shove everything back up through here as best we can. And up through here, I know it's going to be a little hard to tell, but you can actually pull this down quite a bit. You see there's a little bit of sunlight coming through, and that's what we're going to do to feed the wire through. It definitely takes a little bit of effort to get this wire to go through there. So I ended up taking the other end of the wire here and shoving it kind of through there and fishing this end out, and we're just going to leave about as much as we need to reach. And don't worry, this is not going to really hurt the wire or pinch it too much. Shouldn't on yours either. But we're going to plug that into there and then pull up as much wire as we possibly can to have this looking as cleanly as possible. And then we're going to plug this back into our converter, make sure that all still works. It looks like it is working. Cool. All right, once you have the camera off and everything else, you can go ahead and shove all your spaghetti back in there. And we'll take the clock. Oh, yeah, gotta remember to connect the clock first. Yips. Oh, again, yeah, if you wanted the switched power too, you could always pull it off of this this yellow wire here, which I probably will end up switching to, but for right now, I'm just gonna keep it like this. Plug it in, and then we are good to go. So quick update, I did switch this over to switched power, so turn that just to even accessory or to on, and boom, it turns on. And then when you take the key out or turn it off, it starts its countdown and it's off. So using that yellow wire in there was the better choice for this particular camera. So now let's check out some footage from the dash cam. This is the view from the dash cam where the sun's directly in your eyes. So this is what it looks like. And this is the view from the dash cam where the sun's directly in your eyes. So this is what it looks like. Another cool thing with the dash cam is you no longer have to pull out your phone if you want to laugh at a squatted truck that's driving by. Oh, now we're gone. Oh, now we're gone. Alright, and that all cleanly fits like that, so you don't have to take apart your headliner and your pillar here and everything else. That's going to be it for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit like it if you like it, share it with your friends who might have a Subaru or be interested in a dash cam. And again, check the link in the description below if you want this set up in these parts as well. And as always, remember to keep it foul.